Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Toal Tribe channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. For today's video, I am nice and comfy in bed. I've got my venti pink drink here and I'm just chilling because we're going to be talking about something that's kind of heavy. In this video, I'm going to be sharing mine and Mike's infertility story. And if you're wondering why I'm sitting here solo dolo to tell this story, it's simply because some people are more comfortable talking about infertility and their struggles to conceive than other people. I have made it my sole mission in life to normalize the conversations had around infertility. I think it's ridiculous that it would have ever been considered taboo to talk about. I think that when something is taboo, it makes people feel shame and it makes them feel isolated, and somebody certainly shouldn't feel any shame over something that they have no control over. So I want to talk about infertility. I love to talk about infertility. I will talk about it with anyone and everyone until I'm blue in the face. Mike, on the other hand, less comfortable talking about it, but he's super comfortable and supportive of me sharing our story. He just doesn't want to sit next to me while I do it. Here goes nothing. So our story starts back in 2015, right after we first got married. We got married early October, and like not long after the wedding, baby fever hit me like a ton of bricks. And Mike and I had discussed that we were gonna wait 2 years before we started talking about expanding our family. Well, that didn't really last. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I kept bringing it up, and at first Mike was like, oh, we'll just move the talk up a year. We'll see. On our 1-year anniversary, we'll see how we still feel about it. And I couldn't let it go. So I started bringing up children all the time and like adding it into conversation. I'd be like, well, when the baby comes, or when we do have a baby, or when you're a dad. And I think it just made it more normal in conversation, and it made Mike able to kind of visualize what our lives would be like. And soon enough, he was on board too. We figured it would probably take us a few months to get pregnant, and then I'd be pregnant for 9 months. So by the time the baby came, it very well could have been a year from the time we were having the conversation, possibly 2. So we decided to just go for it. That conversation happened in December 2015. I finished out that cycle, and then I went off my birth control and we were ready to go. So a few months passed and nothing happened. I was like, what the heck? I feel like we should have gotten pregnant by now. It's been like 5 months. And so I started doing some research, and that's when I was embarrassed to learn that I really didn't know anything at all about the reproductive systems and trying to conceive. In high school, they taught sex ed, like you had a 90% chance of getting pregnant anytime a man sneezed near you. In all reality, it's amazing that anybody gets pregnant. When you look at the scientifics of it, because it's like the sun, the moon, the stars, and the earth all have to align in order for you to get pregnant. That's what a small percentage you have every month to actually conceive. So as we went through the process, I was noticing that my cycles were kind of erratic. Some months I would be 28, and then the following month I would be 35, and then the next month I would be 40, and then I'd be back down to like 26 the month after that. So it was really hard to pinpoint ovulation, and I was just using like a predicting app. And then I learned about OPKs, and so I started taking the ovulating, they're like ovulation predictor kits. I started taking those. Those leave a lot of room for error because the lines are kind of hard to read, and so you don't really ever know. It's hard to tell. You're like, I don't know, am I gonna ovulate? Is this line darker than this line? It's a mess. So we would do that, and nothing seemed to work. And we didn't tell our family or friends really. I think like maybe 1 or 2 of my friends knew that we were trying. That was really it. Because we wanted to keep it a secret. We wanted everybody to be surprised and happy when we finally announced that we were pregnant. The year went by and we were not pregnant. There was no baby to speak of. And I remember being at breakfast with my mom and finally like confiding in her that we had been trying and nothing was happening. And she said, you know, you should go see your doctor. Maybe your regular OBGYN has some information or can suggest something. So we went and I explained to him my cycles and how they can be crazy. And so he suggested that I try Clomid. He said, we'll do 3 cycles of Clomid. And then if nothing happens, you'll have to go see a specialist. So I did 3 cycles of Clomid, which made me absolutely crazy. The hormones in that, I went nuts. I was crying all the time. It was a hot mess. And so we did 3 cycles, no baby. And then I knew it was time to see a fertility specialist, but I froze. I couldn't do it. I was so scared about finding out something was horribly wrong with one of us and how we would react. You know, if I knew that I was the reason that my husband could never have children, I would be devastated. And if he knew that he was the reason we couldn't have children, he would be devastated, and that would also devastate me. So I just didn't want to drop that bomb in our marriage yet. I just wanted to see, and honestly, trying to conceive had taken so much from me. I had become this sad, defeated person that I didn't even recognize anymore. Every month that, you know, your period comes when you're hoping that you're pregnant, and every twinge in your abdomen must mean something, and then you get your period and you're not pregnant, it breaks you. I spent so many hours, so many days crying in bed, and my poor husband, nothing he did could console me or make me feel better. And he was trying so hard, and I was just pushing him away because I was just so hurt that this was happening to us. What did we do to deserve this? We were young, we were healthy. Like, I was so upset. Instead of making an appointment to see a fertility specialist, we kind of just got back to us. We dated, we spent some time together, we did things that we loved. I rebranded my blog. I focused on just really things that I loved. I bought myself things that I wanted, and I said, you know, well, I better buy this purse now, because when, you know, we finally do have a baby, I won't be able to buy these things. And so I just treated myself. So at this point in our story, it's 2018, and I've decided it's probably not going to happen on its own, and we should go seek help from a specialist. So we made an appointment, and I think we went in late March of 2018, and we had to give him all kinds of information about what we've tried, our lifestyle, what any health issues that we had. I had to talk all about my cycle, like in detail, and then they recommended that we go get testing done. So I had to have an x-ray done to check if my tubes were blocked. I had to have ultrasounds. I had to give so much blood. Mike had to give a sample, and he also had to have blood work done. It was a lot less extensive. And when we went back a few weeks later to get the results, we basically heard good and bad news. The good news was that there were really no red flags, and the bad news was that means that they have no idea why we weren't getting pregnant. There was one more test that they wanted to run again on Mike, and you know, he said even if that test came back with the same result, that, you know, he could see it being a little bit of an issue, but not one that would have kept us from conceiving for like over 2 years. So the doctor was basically like, at this point, you've been trying for over 2 years, you want to be parents, let's attack this aggressively. And he suggested we do IUI, which is like an artificial insemination. And if that didn't work, we would move to IVF. It just didn't sit with me well that they weren't looking at attacking the cause of our infertility. They were just going to basically give us a band-aid that would get us the result that we want. But ultimately, if we wanted to have another child, we'd have to go through all of this again because we weren't attacking the root of the issue. Why is it that every time we tried a special fertility diet or vitamin regimen or anything else that we tried, because we literally tried everything, nothing was working? And I was upset that I was being told that we had to turn to science and like a very clinical and cold approach to get me pregnant without knowing why I wasn't getting pregnant in the first place. So I took a step back and I said that I needed to think about it, and Mike agreed, and we went home, and in that time the testing bills hit, and it cost thousands of dollars. And we have good insurance, but unfortunately insurance doesn't cover most testing because it's not really seen as something vital to your health. It's not, you know, a cause of concern if you can't get pregnant to most insurance companies. So a lot of it we had to pay out of pocket, which was hard and it was expensive, and we knew that the road of fertility treatment was going to be expensive if that's the road that we took. So instead of moving forward with fertility treatments, I decided that I needed to get myself in a better place in my life as far as my career went, so that when we were ready to move forward with whatever we were going to do, we would be in just a better place. So I didn't like my job. It was really stressful. It wasn't flexible. The pay was terrible. So I went out and I found something new. Better pay, more flexible hours, work from home availability if needed. And and just like better all around, less stressful, everything. So once I started that job, I needed to obviously get acclimated, and I started to do that. Mike and I went on our trip to Paris, which was like a once in a lifetime trip, and something we definitely knew we wouldn't be able to do if a baby was in the picture. So we spent a lot of time focusing on ourselves again and just bettering ourselves in our home and everything else. And we basically figured that if in that time moving forward with fertility treatments is something that felt right, we would just know, and we would make the phone call and we would get started. But it didn't happen like that. It never felt right. And so we never actually went forward with getting any fertility treatments done. So we've never done an IUI session. We haven't harvested any eggs. I don't have any embryos in a freezer anywhere. So we're just kind of winging it. And at this point, we are moving forward with becoming parents through adoption instead. Since opening up about our infertility struggles, Mike and I have felt so much love and support from family and friends, and even people like that we haven't spoken to in years, maybe people we went to school with that we haven't kept in touch with, but they've reached out and they've been like, so sorry you're going through this. If you ever want to talk, you know, or I went through something similar, or like it's just been incredible. The amount of people that have come out to surround us and support us. And that's why I really encourage people to talk about their infertility, to share their stories, to tell their loved ones, because you never know what information somebody has to share with you, first of all. And second of all, it's such a hard thing to go through. Don't go through it alone. Let other people carry that burden with you. Let them be that shoulder for you to cry on. Like, you're going to need it, and you should welcome it. If somebody wants to be there and support you through your infertility struggles, let them, seriously. I have felt no less than a million different emotions throughout our struggle with infertility. It's a really lonely thing. It can break your heart. It can make you feel defeated. But the one thing you can never let infertility do is define you. You are not your infertility. And you are no less of a woman or a man because you struggle with your fertility. So that's our infertility story thus far. Mike and I are planning to do a video on why we chose adoption over moving forward with infertility treatments. That'll be a video that comes out in the next couple of weeks. I'm not exactly sure when, but you can look out for that if you're interested. If you're like me and you love to normalize the conversation surrounding infertility, feel free to share your story in the comments below. I would love to hear from you and continue the conversation. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps our channel. And if you like what you saw here today, please subscribe, join the Toal tribe. My husband Mike and I would be happy to have you. We are currently on the journey to grow our family through a domestic infant adoption, and we would love it if you came along on the adventure. See you guys in our next video. Bye!